Hello friends, welcome back. In this video, we will be discussing some more para summary questions or exercises. We have discussed so many questions on para summaries in the previous videos. So we will continue the exercises in this video as well. And before we begin, I would like you to attempt the exercise on your own first by clicking on the link that is provided in the video description. The PDF will open. You please attempt the exercise on your own first, then come and listen to the video so that your understanding will be thorough and complete, and whatever doubts you had while solving the questions, those doubts could be cleared. If you still have any further doubts regarding the questions or the explanations, you can either post it in the comment, or you can join the WhatsApp group where we are discussing a lot of things. So please join. The people who have not yet joined the WhatsApp group, you can join the WhatsApp group also. The link is again provided in the description. All right. Now coming back to the questions. So the first question is this one. I presume that you have already attempted the question. So if you have attempted, you can easily say that the passage is talking about the lack of representation of women artists during the Renaissance period. We know that Renaissance period is a period of revival in Europe in the 16th, 15th, 16th, and 17th centuries, where art, culture, society, lifestyles, etc., everything improved in Europe, and Europe started its journey to become a modern society after the Renaissance period. So before that, Europe was just like any other backward or developing world. But after the Renaissance period, Europe started its journey towards becoming a modern society in terms of art, culture, society, living, lifestyles, our standard of life, etc. All these things started improving. And this passage is talking about the representation or the lack of representation of women artists in the Renaissance period, and we are talking especially about Italy. And this is being done through the one particular example of Giorgio Vasari, who was a writer who compiled the names of the artists who were prominent during the 15th, 16th, and 17th century in Italy. And among these artists, only 3 women were there. And the names of the women are given. One is Properzia di Rossi, who was a sculptor. Then Florentina nun. The nun means nun, you know. Florentina nun, Plotilla Nelli. So this nun from Florentina called Plotilla Nelli. That is a second artist, and obviously she's a painter because whose Last Supper has recently been restored. That is given. So she had drawn the Last Supper, and then the third one is Sophonisba Anguissola, who was a portraitist. Who was a portraitist? Portraitist is a painter who only draws portraits or draws the pictures of people. Such painters are known as portraitists. So they'll not be drawing landscapes or any other things. They will be drawing only pictures of people. And she was prominent in the court of Philip II of Spain. So this was about the artists who were doing sculpture, painting, drawing, portraits, etc. Whereas in literature, there were many women who wrote prose and poetry, and there was only one person who was prominent, or one person is the most prominent. Her name is Vittoria Colonna, and her prominence is partly due to her friendship with this Michelangelo, who we know that a very famous male artist. So here the passage is talking about the lack of representation of women in the field of arts, especially in Italy. And he says that in the field of literature, there were many women, out of which one person was prominent. But her prominence was partly not due to her writing skills, but due to her friendship with Michelangelo. So these are the things given. Now we have to find a summary. Option A, women's contribution during the Renaissance depended upon regulating their sexuality, economic and political roles, education, expectations of their culture, etc. So this is talking about a lot of things that are not at all discussed in the passage. So it is talking about why women were not truly represented during the Renaissance period. It is because of their sexuality, economic and political roles, education, expectation. All these things are not at all discussed in the passage. So when things are not discussed in the passage, it cannot be qualified as a good summary. So you can ignore it. Option B, many aspects of the Renaissance were overwhelmingly male, and women barely held out on their own in its wider cultural sphere. So probably correct means It is correct, even though it is not talking about the names of the people represented, it is talking about the essential idea. What was the essential idea? In the Renaissance period, especially in arts, the male dominance was very visible. The female representation was very, very less. So, and women barely held out on their own in wider cultural sphere. So, when we are talking about arts, it is about a sphere of culture, right? So, women were not able to hold out on their own, means they did not have an existence on their own. So this is correct, because if we talk only about three women artists, and when we talk about writers, a lot of writers were there, but even the best known among them, her prominence is partly due to her friendship with famous men. So she was, even that lady was not able to have an existence on her own. Her existence or her fame was basically due to her friendship with a male person. So that is why they could not hold out on their own. It means they could not have any existence on their own. That is the meaning. So this is so you can qualify it as a summary. There is nothing wrong here. If no other summaries are available, maybe we can take it as a good summary. So keep it in your mind. Option C, the structural, institutional, and ideological developments during the Renaissance made things worse for women. So it is talking about the reasons why women representation was very less during the Renaissance period. It is because of the institutional problems, the ideological developments, and the structural problems. We don't know. The passage is not discussing anything about the reasons why women representation in arts, literature, etc. is very low during the Renaissance period, whereas this option is talking about the reasons. So that is not a good summary. You can ignore it. Option D, the Renaissance was a rebirth of interest in classical Greek and Roman culture and submerged in the patriarchy of medieval Christianity. So it is again talking about something that is not discussed in the passage. The passage is not saying whether there was any interest in Greek and Roman culture in the this thing. We are only talking about some painting made by the Last Supper is a painting made by this lady. The Last Supper is obviously related to Roman culture, but again, that is not definitely meaning that there is an interest in classical Greek culture. There is only one instance of the talking about that, but that doesn't mean that all the people in the Renaissance period were very much interested in classical Greek and Roman culture. We cannot make that assumption. And this is submerged in the patriarchy of medieval Christianity. We are not talking about religion here, and whether the Christianity at that time was practicing patriarchy. Patriarchy means male dominance. We don't know. That is not discussed in the passage. Since none of these things are discussed in the passage, we cannot take it as a good summary. So that also is wrong. So the only summary which is almost is similar to what the passage is saying is option B. So this kind of questions will come where you will not get an exact representation or exact reproduction of whatever is stated in the passage. You may get a general summary which is talking about some ideas that are there in the passage. If no other better summaries are there, you have to go for such an answer. So in this case, since all the other summaries or options are very, very incorrect, when we compare with the passage, we have to go with this option B, which is the only summary which is somewhat sticking to the essential idea that is stated in the passage, which is about the male dominance during the Renaissance period, especially in art and culture, and women could not have an existence on their own in the cultural sphere of the Renaissance period. So that is why B will be your answer. Now, all the others are incorrect. All right, go to the next one. So this passage is talking about an essay written, that is a very good essay. Extraordinary means a very good essay written by a Jewish political, German Jewish political theorist. German Jewish means a person who is German as well as she Jewish. Such a person is called a German Jewish political theorist, Hannah Arendt. And what she's saying, she is saying that you cannot distinguish between the good and the bad German. So 1945 means it is during the height of the Second World War and Nazis were ruling Germany. So you need to have this kind of information in your mind. So that is why general awareness is very important for all management aspirants. Many things that are that will be there in your para summaries, passages, etc. We'll talk about certain things that are that you are supposed to know. So if you have some background idea, your task will become more easy while finding out the answer. So we are talking about the Nazis which were ruling Germany in 1945 during the Second World War, and they were persecuting the Jews who were citizens of their country. And in that persecution, then this lady is saying that you cannot distinguish between whether a German person is a good person or a bad person just by his actions, because the Nazis made it very difficult to distinguish heroes from villains. So the Nazis were having a secret police who were everywhere and who were looking among the Germans also. Any kind of dissidents. Dissidents means any kind of opposition from the Germans against the government, it was dealt with very severely. So even the dissidents, or even the people who were even the Germans who were opposed to the Nazis, they could not exhibit their opposition openly because of this secret police. So what they did, their opposition or resistance was reduced to fleeting gestures and words that could not be proven by the secret police. Means all the gestures or actions and words of the people who were against the Nazis, those actions and gestures were in a very fleeting manner. Fleeting means something that could not be very obvious, or that could not be very clearly made out. That is called a fleeting gestures. And why they are doing such fleeting gestures? Because then such gestures could not be proven by the secret police of the Nazis as something amounting to dissidents. So that is why this was done by the dissidents. They are the opposite people who were Germans who were opposed to the Nazis. So the people, Germans who were opposed to the Nazis, obviously they were considered as good Germans by the Jews who were persecuted by the Nazis. But the Jews could not identify whether a German person is a good person or a bad person, because even the good Germans or the dissidents who were opposed to the Nazis, they were not exhibiting their opposition in a very open-minded or an open manner. And one more thing she is saying is that all the Germans, whether these Germans were supporting the Nazis or opposing the Nazis, they were colluding with the Nazis in one way or another. Means colluding means what? Cooperating in a secret manner is called colluding. So why? Because without opposing the Nazis openly, you could not survive in Germany. So even the Germans who were opposed to the Nazis, they were not making their opposition evident or clear, and they were in many ways cooperating with the Nazis in a secret manner. This is why it is very difficult to identify a good German from a bad German. That is what this lady, political theorist Anna Arendt, who was a Jewish political theorist. So she is also a Jew. So she is saying this. And then, and finally, she made her most arresting case. Most arresting case means she made her most significant theory regarding wider, so talking about a wider circle of responsibility at a moment when AC vengeance beckoned. What is the meaning of this last sentence? So what makes her essay extraordinary is that she fixed the responsibility on all Germans or on all people for the persecution. So she is not isolating the Nazis as the villains and then going for vengeance on the Nazis, or she was not saying that Nazis were the people who persecuted the Jews. She says that all Germans, whether they were supporting the Nazis or opposing the Nazis, they were colluding with the Nazis in one way or another, directly or indirectly, as a result of which everybody is responsible for the persecution. This is the meaning of the passage. So basically the passage is talking about this essay written by Anna Arendt, and this essay is titled Organized Guilt and Universal Responsibility. So that is why from this particular title itself, you should get an idea about what the passage is saying. So it says that everybody is guilty for the persecution. It is not that you can identify or segregate a good German from a bad German. Even good Germans, they colluded with the Nazis secretly, and they were not making their opposition very much evident. So it was very difficult to identify who is a good German and who is a bad German. And all people had a responsibility in the persecution. It is not just the Nazis who were responsible for the atrocities that were conducted during the Second World War. So these are the things that you can deduce from the passage. Now, going for a summary. Option A, differentiating a good German from a bad one may be extremely difficult. says ardent in her path-breaking service. Everybody could routine process practices either directly or indirectly. Good one. So this is a good summary. It is talking about whatever she is saying in the passage. So possible answer. Option B, in her superb essay, Ardent reflects that it may be difficult to distinguish among different kinds of Germans, mainly due to the difficulty in pinpointing the bad words. So it says that it is difficult. It may be difficult to distinguish among different kinds of Germans. The passage is talking about distinguishing between a good German and a bad German. So whereas this option is talking about distinguishing among different kinds of Germans, mainly due to the difficulty in pinpointing. Not a good answer. We already have a better answer in option A. So you can ignore this because it is talking about this difficulty in distinguishing different kinds of Germans. And it is not talking about the other things, why it is difficult and all those things, and the pollution of all the people in the persecution. These things are not stated. So this is not a better answer than option A. Then option C, Arden in her essay on guilt and responsibility warns the reader of the difficulty in distinguishing the good ones from the bad ones, alluding to the fact that there was a wider circle of responsibility. Yes, she is saying that there is it is difficult to distinguish the good ones from the bad ones. And she is alluding to the fact. What is alluding? Indicating. So alluding means indirectly indicating to the fact that there was a wider circle of responsibility. Again, a good answer. So this also is not having any inconsistencies, a probable answer. Option D, Harden has been able to pinpoint exactly the Germans who are to be blamed for the Nazi atrocities. This is not correct because in the passage, the lady is saying that it is not possible to identify who are the Germans who are responsible and who are the Germans who are not responsible, because she says that in a way all Germans are responsible. So that is where this is wrong. So you have two good answers. So now comes the problem, how to distinguish the best one. So in case here your skill has to come. You need to again go through the options very carefully to understand any weakness in one of the options that will make the other option the correct answer. So what is can you find any weakness here? Differentiating a good German from a bad one may be extremely difficult, says Arden in her path-breaking essay. What is the meaning of this word path-breaking? Something that has not been done before. That is called path breaking. Path breaking means anything that is being done for the first time. That is called path breaking. Where there was no path, you are finding out a path. So that is called a path breaking essay. Now, what is stated here? It is stated that her essay is extraordinary. It is a very good essay. It is not an ordinary essay. It is something special. But is it path breaking? We don't know. The passage is not saying anything about this is this being the first time when such kind of things are written about. So you cannot say that this is a path-breaking essay. Everything else is correct, and it seems like a very good answer, but only because of this particular word path-breaking. So if you don't know the meaning of the word path-breaking, if you understand path-breaking as something that is special, then your answer might turn out to be incorrect, because path breaking means something that is being done for the first time. A pioneer or something that is pioneering. Pioneering means something that is being done for the first time is called pioneering. So path breaking means the same thing, something that is being done for the first time. So we don't know whether any other writer has talked about this kind of wider circle of responsibility. That is not evident to us from the passage. So we cannot describe this essay as a path-breaking essay. So that makes this option wrong. So what is the answer? Option C, because it says that in our essay on guilt and responsibility, warns the reader of the difficulty in distinguishing the good ones from the bad ones, alluding to the fact, indicating the fact that there is a wider circle of responsibility. So this becomes the correct answer, not option A. Even though option A is otherwise very good, because of this one word, it becomes wrong. So this is why very careful reading is required for identifying the answers in para summaries. This kind of confusing options will be there whenever you encounter or you are left with two or more correct options. You have to go through the options very minutely to find any inconsistencies and then eliminate them. And what remains will be your answer. Okay, go to the third para. So here we are talking about cancer patients, especially bowel cancer patients. And there is a new research which has suggested that the period of chemotherapy that these kind of cancer patients undergo, it can be reduced by half without any significant problems in their long-term survival. And there is an advantage. What is the advantage? Nerve damage can be reduced. So right now the treatment for colon cancer or bowel cancer chemotherapy treatment is how much times are there? How many? What is the duration from the passage? 6 months. So as per existing standards, see here. As per existing standards, 6 months of chemotherapy is being conducted on people who are suffering from bowel cancer or colon cancer. Both are the same. Bowel, colon means same intestine, anything related to intestine. So 6 months chemotherapy is required, but as per the new research, it can be reduced to half, means 3 months are required, and it is reducing the nerve damage that is a side effect of chemotherapy. So that nerve damage can be reduced, and it is not going to hurt their long-term survival, or the chances of survival of the patient is not going to be affected even if you reduce the duration of chemotherapy. This is the meaning. 3 month regimen is just effective for many patients. And this sentence you need to read carefully. The clinical trial involving 13,000 patients across the continents have overturned existing standards. That means they have overturned the existing standards. So existing standards prescribe 6 months of chemotherapy. So it has this clinical trial has overturned it, means it has changed it. It has changed it, and it is now proving that 3 months of chemotherapy is sufficient for their survival. And the advantage is that the nerve damage can be reduced to a great extent. So this is the meaning of the passage. Once you understand it, the option becomes, or finding out the summary becomes a cakewalk without any problem. According to research, a change in the duration of colon cancer therapy could save hundreds of thousands from nerve damage without affecting their long-term survival. Seems like a good answer, but what is the problem? The option is using the phrase a change in the duration. Change in the duration means it can be an increase in the duration or decrease in the duration. Whereas in the passage, we are talking about the reduction of the duration, whereas change in the duration implies that this duration can be either increased or decreased. So this is why this is not very specific. The passage is talking about reduction of the duration. So this is not your answer. Option B, according to research, changes in the standard cancer chemotherapy would save many without harm. Again, the changes. The keyword is changes, and it is talking about the standard cancer chemotherapy. What are the changes? The changes are in the duration of the cancer chemotherapy. It is talking about just cancer chemotherapy. So two things are absent. One is that the reduction is when the duration is required. Here we are only talking about changes, and that too changes in the treatment. Whereas the passage is more specific regarding changes in the duration of the treatment. So that is why this again is a wrong answer. Option C, according to research, shortening the duration of colon cancer chemotherapy could save several people from nerve damage. Good answer. It says that shortening the duration of colon cancer chemotherapy could save several people from nerve damage. Possible answer. Option D, according to research, duration of cancer chemotherapy could be reduced and prevent nerve damage in several patients. Again, good answer. What is the difference here? Both C and D are good answers, but which is when we have two good answers where there are no inconsistencies or problems. Again, whatever is the more specific answer will be your correct answer. So which is the more specific option? This one. Why? Because in the passage we are basically talking about colon cancer chemotherapy, whereas option D is only talking about cancer chemotherapy, means all forms of cancer chemotherapy. This is not correct. Our passage is only dealing with bowel cancer or colon cancer, and the research is only about the reduction of duration for colon cancer. Whereas this option, if you take it as the correct answer, it implies that in all kinds of cancer chemotherapy, this reduction in duration is effective. We don't know. That is not stated in the passage. As a result of which, this becomes a wrong answer. This becomes the correct answer. So this again is another technique you should use in para summary. When you are faced with the two seemingly good options where there are no inconsistencies, the best one will be that option which is more specific, which is sticking to the essence of the idea that is stated in the passage. So option C will be the clear answer here. All right, go to the next one. It is again talking about a bill that is introduced in the Ohio. Ohio is a state in USA. So in the state of Ohio, there is a bill that is introduced where any woman carrying a pregnancy, if she is trying to abort the pregnancy, then that becomes a criminal offense. So not only that, the doctor, the treating doctor also could be charged with a criminal offense as per the new bill. So it is not just the woman who is seeking the abortion who will be facing the criminal offense. The doctor also could have the likelihood. So here the most important thing is the Ohio bill. So here even though the United Nations is saying that carrying to term, what is carrying to term? Completing the term of pregnancy means carrying your baby in your womb for 9 months and delivering the baby. That is called carrying to term pregnancy. So the process of conceiving, then carrying the pregnancy for 9 months and delivering, that the entire process is called carrying to term a pregnancy. So against one's will is punishment enough. So this, when we are not willing to carry a pregnancy, when you are forced to carry a pregnancy against your own will, that itself is a punishment, and it can amount to torture as per United Nations Human Rights Council. So from this particular statement itself, you can understand that the author is not in favor of this bill that is being introduced in the state of Ohio, where woman seeking an abortion will not be able to access the medical facilities for terminating her pregnancy. Not only that, there will be it will open the door to criminal charges against both abortion providers and women seeking the procedure. So it will open the door means what? It will make it possible for the police to file charges against the abortion providers and the women. So from this statement, you should understand that previously, maybe the abortion providers could not be proceeded against, or there were no criminal charges against the abortion providers or the women. It could be either the existing law might be prosecuting either the people or the doctors who are giving abortion, or the women who are seeking the abortion, or nobody. We don't know. That is why it says that it will open the door to criminal charges to both abortion providers and people. Means it makes it a possibility that both abortion providers and women seeking procedure will be facing criminal charges. And one of the Republican court sponsors, he's saying that the prosecutors can decide whether to charge a woman or a doctor. So it will be the prosecutors who will decide who will be proceeded against. So this bill makes it possible to proceed against the people, that means the doctors, the women, etc. And the prosecutors can decide whether they should charge either the women or the doctor who has given the abortion. Why? Because the bill considers an unborn human as a live person, and as a person who is alive, and as a result, any termination of pregnancy is considered equal to homicide. Homicide means murder, and in Ohio, murder is punishable by life imprisonment or death penalty. So that is why this bill is giving or aiming to prosecute the doctor or the woman who is seeking abortion, because abortion is considered homicide or murder. This is the meaning. Now, summary. Option A, considering the death of an unborn child as murder, and law in Ohio bans the procedure of abortion by criminalizing it. Considering the death of an abortion, obviously, in first reading, you might think that this is a good answer, but there is a problem here. What is the problem? The option says that this is a law, whereas the passage says this is a bill. What is the difference between a bill and a law? A law, a bill is a draft of a law, or a law. The future law is called a bill. When a bill is presented in a legislature, it is discussed by the legislature, and once they pass it, it becomes a law. So here, a future law, a bill is a future law. So here we are talking about a bill. It is not a law yet. It is just a proposed law. So that is why this option may not be a good answer. Even if you do not understand the difference between the bill and a law, still you can think that this, or you can deduce that this is not correct. Why? Here, because it's is using the term bans the procedure. So simple present is used, means it implies that this is already a law. Whereas what is, if you read the passage closely, you can see that all the passage is using future tenses, would not. It would be up to the prosecutors to decide. And human would be considered a person. Under the bill, unborn human would be considered. So here, everything is stated in the future tense. Means what? This is not yet a law. It is in the process of becoming a law. Whereas the option is talking as if it has already become a law. So that is why this becomes a wrong answer. So if you are able to understand what is the difference between a bill and a law, you don't have to worry about the tenses. You can easily say that this is incorrect. But if you still don't know, if you read closely, you will understand that this option is stating as if the law is already in existence, whereas we are talking about a future law. So that is why this is wrong. Option B, again the same thing. A law in Ohio has banned. So it is talking about as if it has already been done, whereas it is something about the future. So even though it is otherwise stating the correct things, this is not a good answer. Option C, considering the death of an unborn child as murder, the Ohio will ban the procedure of abortion with severe punishment for the doctor and the woman seeking the abortion. Everything is correct here. Then option D, considering the death of an unborn child, the bill in Ohio will criminalize the act of abortion, leading to the likely prosecutions of the people involved. So which is a better answer? Both are correct. Again, the same thing. You need to have a close reading. When you have two good answers, read closely. So which one will be the better answer? If you read C very closely, it says that severe punishment is given for the doctor and the woman. Right? It says that doctor and the woman. What the passage is saying? It will open the door to criminal charges against both abortion providers and women seeking. Means it will make it possible to prosecute both the people, but the prosecutors can decide whether to charge a woman or a doctor. So the prosecutors will have the power to prosecute both abortion providers and women, but the prosecutors will decide whether to charge a woman or a doctor. Means even though they have the power to prosecute both the people involved, during the stage of prosecution, they will have to decide whether they are going to charge the woman or the doctor. Whereas the option says that it's severe punishment for the woman, a doctor and the woman. So punishment will come only after prosecution, right? So the bill says that the prosecutors will have to decide at the time of prosecution whether they are going to prosecute the woman seeking the abortion or the doctor. So the case of punishment for the doctor and the woman is not going to arise, because it will either be for the doctor or the woman seeking the abortion. Punishment would be given either to the doctor or the woman, because the prosecutors have the power to decide only to prosecute either the woman or the doctor. So that is why this becomes a wrong answer. Whereas option D, considering the death of an unborn child as murder, the bill in Ohio will criminalize the act, leading to the likely prosecutions of the people involved. Means likely prosecution means it becomes uh, possible to prosecute the people involved. Prosecution is one thing, punishment is a different thing. Punishment comes after prosecution. Prosecution means charging a person for a crime is called prosecution. So prosecute at the time of prosecution, before prosecution, the prosecutor can have the power to decide move against both the people, but during the prosecution stage, they have to decide whether they are going to prosecute the woman or the doctor, and then it will lead to the punishment of either the woman or the doctor. That is why this becomes the correct answer. This is not the correct answer. C talks about severe punishment for the doctor and the woman. This is not possible under the law, whereas this becomes possible. So that is why option D is the correct answer here. Hope you have understood the logic correctly. Again, very, very confusing. So whenever the passage becomes simple, be on your guard, because the options are going to be confusing. Whenever the passage is very confusing. The options most of the time are simple. You will not have too many problems. So you spend some time on understanding the passage correctly for difficult passages, because the options will not be that confusing. Whereas in the case of very simple passages, be very, very alert, because the options could be confusing. All right, the last one. It is talking about Karl Marx and what he believed in. Because in historical times, the aristocracy means the noble people, the nobility, the people who were having family hierarchy, hereditary history, lot of wealth, and they owned a lot of land. So such people are called aristocracy. So they were basically people who were ruling on behalf of the king on a particular area. Such people are lords. We call lords, duchesses, and duchess. All these people are aristocrats. And the church, so they were the influential people, and they owned the means of production, and the peasants or the ordinary people work for these people. And after the industrial revolution, Karl Marx, so that was the situation before the industrial revolution. After the industrial revolution, Karl Marx believed that the working class people will be able to improve their financial condition and social condition. However, this did not materialize. So the industrial revolution was a period in the history of Europe where the industrialization happened in agriculture, and in a lot of mechanization happened in industries, as a result of which a lot of people production improved, agricultural as well as industrial production improved. A lot of people started getting jobs. They started getting salaries and all. So the essential poverty that was a permanent feature of the aristocratic society before the industrial revolution, that started to improve. Or this was the basic belief that the people who were peasants and who were toiling hard for a very small wages and all, their lot will improve, or their financial and social condition will improve after the industrial revolution. This was the belief of Karl Marx. But what happened? This did not happen. Why? Because the aristocracy and the church were replaced by another form of dominance called the capitalists, or the people who were in investing money for production in agriculture and industry. They were called the capitalist, or in other words, they were called the bourgeoisie. And the peasants became the working class people who were working in factories or in farms for wages, and they were called the proletariat. And these people labored for wages. And Marx, even though Marx thought that the industrial revolution would improve the condition, it did not happen because of capitalism. And he believed that this capitalist system was unfair, and workers would become poorer and poorer, and they will experience alienation. So that is the meaning. So here it is talking about what Karl Marx believed and what happened finally. So Karl Marx believed that the condition of the working class would improve after industrialization, but this did not improve because the aristocracy was replaced by another form of dominance called capitalism. This is the meaning. Now, going to the options, Marx believed in the concept of aristocracy and vehemently opposed its transformation into capitalism. Can you say that? The passage is never saying that Marx was a follower of aristocracy or a supporter of aristocracy, and he opposed the transformation into capitalism. Both the things are wrong. So this is very clearly a wrong answer. Option B, Marx hoped that the gap between the ruling class and the working class would be bridged with the advent of industrial revolution, but he was proved wrong. Correct. Because his hope was that the working class people will get more financial power, as well as social conditions will improve. That is called bridging the gap. Bridging means shortening the gap between the ruling class and the working class after industrial revolution, but he was proved wrong. This did not materialize. Means this did not materialize means this did not happen. Whatever Marx believed, it did not happen. So he was proved wrong. Good answer. Option C, Marx's assumption that the industrial society would be beneficial for the working class proved false because of capitalist ideology. Here, what is the issue? Industrial society. What is industrial society? A society where industries are there, or you can say industrialized society. Are we talking about industrial society or industrialized society? No, we are talking about a society after the industrial revolution. So this is industrial society, means even nowadays our society could be called an industrial society where a lot of industries are there. So we are talking about that specific society just after the industrial revolution in the 18th or 19th century. So we are not talking about industrial society. That is the first problem. And other things are correct, would be beneficial for the working class, proved false, etc. But because of capitalist ideology, so he was this belief wrong because of capitalist ideology? That is not correctly stated here. It was the passage is that after industrialization, Marx believed that the financial condition of the poor people would improve. It did not happen because of capitalism. It says that industrial aristocracy was replaced by capitalist, also known as the bourgeoisie. But whether the ideology of the capitalism was responsible for the problems of the working class is not clearly stated here. It says that Marx's belief was proved wrong because one set of dominance was replaced by another set of dominance. Whether the ideology of that dominance was against the working class or not, we don't know. If there is something in the passage is that capitalist ideology was against the working class people becoming richer, we can say that this is correct. But here we don't know. So because of these two issues, this is not a better summary than option B. Option B is still the better summary. So one is an industrial society, another one is a capitalist ideology. Option D, Marx failed to acknowledge the strength of the capitalists in the post-industrial revolution economy. So post-industrial revolution economy, correct. And Marx could not acknowledge the strength of the capitalists. So capitalists were very strong. Marx failed to acknowledge. Can we say that this can be an inference that we can make from the passage, because Marx believed that in the post-industrial revolution, the poor people would become richer, but he had not reckoned that capitalism would come into play, and capitalism had a very lot of strength, so it will be difficult for the working class people to make money. So we can say that, but that becomes an inference. What is the difference between an inference and a summary? Inference is an understanding that we make from whatever facts are given to us. It is unstated, whereas summary, you have to you have to reduce the essence of the passage into a sentence or not, or so that is summary. So summary is not inference. So the option D is a good inference, but it is not a good summary. Good summary is definitely this one, because it is talking about Marx's belief and what actually happened, and that thing is stated here. So this is why this becomes a good answer. This is not a good answer, because it says that Marx failed to acknowledge, but this is not clearly stated here. Marx failed to acknowledge the strength of the capitalists. So this becomes an inference. It is not a summary. So option B will be your answer in question number 5. So that's all for now. Hope you have found the video to be useful. Please like, share, and subscribe to the video channel if you have found the video to be helpful in your preparations. And keep supporting and motivating me, so that will help me to come out with more videos. Thank you. Bye-bye.